Good morning, all of you, and a very, very warm welcome. I sincerely hope the day that you're going to spend with us gives you a good view of our strategy, our services, a lot of proof points, and more importantly, a big opportunity for you to interact with the broader HCL leadership team. Please make it a point to visit our demos. I think there's a lot of exciting work which 100,000 passionate HCLites are doing around the globe. We brought some of the finest pieces to you to showcase and give you a good view of what we do at HCL. Personally, for me, coming to Mumbai is a very nostalgic experience, and more so coming to Mumbai and addressing 200 investors together brings a lot of nostalgia for very personal reasons. 22 years back, I joined HCL in Mumbai. My first assignment was to really design and build the automatic stock trading system for National Stock Exchange, design and implement the network for the National Stock Exchange. This was a path-breaking project. Back in '94, it was pioneering, and just looking back, 23 years looking back, it's dramatically transformed the way the stock exchange business happens in India. So technology, it's one of the finest examples in modern Indian history where technology has been used to really transform a business. Since then, last 23 years, we've seen number of technologies have played a pivotal role in transforming multiple businesses, be it financial services, healthcare, all kind of industries have leveraged technology as a pivotal point to transform or to reimagine their businesses. Our whole theme today and HCL's broader proposition to the market is all about technology is at the core of the 21st century enterprise. And you will hear a lot of this today. What are we doing in various service lines? What are we doing in various vertical domains? A lot of new propositions, how all of them are coming together with the prime theme of enabling a 21st century enterprise to reimagine their business with technology at the core. That's really the theme. I'm sure many of you would have read a lot of books on Alvin Toffler. He's a phenomenal futurist, terrific visionary in terms of thinking about the future. One very important quote, which is very, very relevant for us today, is this. Right? While we talk about technology, there is a very personal aspect of the 21st century enterprise, 21st century existence in 21st century. The illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think this is a very, very important point for us to keep in mind. Be it personal lives, be it in our professional lives, be it in our own businesses. It's very important for us to continuously be paranoid about what can disrupt our business, what can disrupt our business models, and look at ways and means to reimagine using technology or multiple other opportunities to be relevant for your clients and to really transform and continue to reinvent your businesses. That's a very important theme. And how is this relevant for us in IT industry? We've seen number of industries which were there were a number of Fortune 500 companies which were there 30 years back. About 80 of them do not exist now. We all know about classic examples, how disruptions and lack of reinventions have put a few businesses really out of business. A great example will be, I'm sure all of you are aware of Nokia, the mobile business. They were really doing great. They had huge market share. Everything was going well with their business in early 2000s. And Android was a small company having this cool operating system. And they went to Nokia and talked to them about, why don't you buy Android operating system? You can build smartphones, you can build cool gadgets. And Nokia was so successful, they never paid attention to it. They shooed away Android. And probably in 2004 or 5, Android went and sold their operating system to Google, and how Google leveraged that and really established themselves in the mobile business is really history. And what happened to Nokia's mobile handset business is also history. And you have a number of examples, be it Borders versus Amazon story or the story of Kodak, for example. There are a number of examples. So for us in IT industry, we are at an inflection point. It's extremely important for us to think of the forces which are at the inflection point and how are they really changing from traditional IT to the next-gen IT, and how these inflection points can be leveraged to build a very, very compelling business proposition. So this is a busy slide, but the key themes are, what are the 4 or 5 key disruptions? What are the inflection points in the IT industry today? There are a number of them, but if you have to call out 4 or 5 key themes, which are true inflection points, how things are changing in the IT, in the enterprise IT landscape, I would call the first inflection point is how applications are being relooked at. Traditionally, you had a front office application, you had a back office application, you had enabling applications, vertical specific applications. Most of them were segregated. The way they were designed were point solutions addressing either front office, back office, or a vertical requirement. Applications were designed for functionality. Many of you who've probably heard about SAP, who've used SAP, SAP was so rich in features and functionalities, right? The applications were all built with increasing functionality. And applications were designed for, in a stateful manner. A certain application could work on a certain type of infrastructure. From this trend of segregated front office, back office, stateful applications with functionality as the key theme, today, a lot of back office applications are moving to SaaS. You would know that all the top ERP vendors, be it SAP, Oracle, and many others, are really reinventing themselves to become cloud providers for some of the back office applications. A lot of front office applications, what we call as systems of engagement or systems of innovation, these are really transforming into digital platforms. So applications are either moving to SaaS or they're transforming into digital platforms. When I say digital platforms, it's really an integration of the entire value chain of what the application is expected to deliver. We'll talk a little more about digital platforms, but this is a significant shift, and it's a true inflection point in the industry. The second thing is all about connected devices. It's expected that 50 billion devices will come online in the next 3 years. By 2020, we will have 50 billion connected systems, connected devices coming online, each one of them generating a huge amount of data. There is going to be a huge data explosion. There is going to be other sources of data, social media, consumer-generated content, log files, a lot of equipment, lifecycle management data. There is a huge explosion of data. And to really get insights from this data, it's humanly not possible. You need to leverage technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning. A lot of analytics really goes into getting insights from this data. So connected devices and the impact it can create in the entire asset value chain is one big disruption. The impact data, the explosive data can create, and how can this data be really used really to connect what I call as the shop floor to the top floor. A lot of data from devices and connected systems, how can they get integrated? How can they get analyzed? Right level of data gets integrated into the core systems, which are used for taking decisions and using the insights to really drive decisions and business judgment. So devices and data are two other inflection points. The fourth is what's happening to the infrastructure. Traditionally, you had discrete stacks of infrastructure, server, storage, network. It was dedicated for a certain type of application, optimized to run certain applications, and applications were designed to work on a certain type of targeted systems. However, the future, infrastructure is really becoming an invisible component on which you can compose business functionality. So it's really becoming a platform layer. You can configure it using software. That's what software-defined infrastructure is all about. Depending on your application and business requirement, you can assign resources on the fly using software configurations. Infrastructure could reside on public cloud. You can compose application and business functionality and really look at infrastructure as an abstracted layer on top of which you're building functionalities. So that's a big change in the infrastructure space. All of this, whether it is devices, data, digital platforms, they're really connecting all the value chain, be it suppliers, be it customers, end users. The entire value chain is connected, and it's really, we are evolving into an age of connected experience, connected assets and connected experience. So all these inflection points mean something to the businesses that we are in. As HCL Technologies, we have a $6.5 billion business and multiple service lines. And these inflection points are all playing into everything that we do. And in all the conversations with analysts and investors, there are some standard questions that we get asked as an organization. Given all these inflection points, how is automation impacting you? How is cloud impacting you? What is your digitalization strategy? I mean, I consider these three, automation, cloud, and digitalization, as what I call as three big elephants in the room in any conversation. Right? While throughout the day we will spend time talking about our automation strategy or how are we leveraging digital technologies and talk a lot about Internet of Things, how are different service lines are pivoting around the inflection points that we have, I want to use this session to address some key themes, like how is automation impacting our business? What is the impact of public cloud? What is the digitalization strategy? Based on these inflection points, how are we looking at our growth strategy? That's really the theme of this session. Let me get started with the first important topic. What is the impact of automation? I will spend a few minutes to really provide a strategic view of automation and how are we placed in this whole highly automation-driven operations and orchestration world. Before we talk about automation, I think our positioning is we believe we have the most pragmatic automation capability in the industry. I want to validate this with a couple of proof points. We compete in a number of scenarios with several leading providers, some of them Indian origin, some of them Western providers. There are two very, very large opportunities, both one in a Fortune 100 software company and another in a Fortune 10 oil and gas company. For a Fortune 100 software company, their infrastructure and application operations were delivered by 5 Indian origin providers doing different pieces of the work, and for a long time, and we had a small piece in it. After several years, they decided to transform and significantly leverage automation, and they looked at all the providers in the industry, including some traditional providers and many Indian origin providers. They asked us to do a demonstration and proof of concept in a certain segment of their infrastructure and certain segment of the application operations. And they asked everybody. At the end of almost a 3-month proof of concept, validating every aspect of the maturity of automation, HCL was selected as the overall winner, and it is a mega program for us. So we consolidated all the work that everybody else was doing. Primarily, our differentiator was our autonomics and RISE platform, and you will hear about that RISE platform in the next session. The second example is, it's a very large Fortune 10 oil and gas company. Here, traditionally the way RFP process runs is they would call 15 or 16, 20 suppliers. There is an RFI. Then they look at the responses. They shortlist maybe 7 or 8 of them. They float an RFP. You respond. They shortlist 4 or 5, make visits, talk to the customers, finally shortlist 2, negotiate with 2, and finally award the contract to one. So this Fortune 10 oil and gas major did the same thing. They floated an RFI to 16 vendors. All of them provided their RFI responses. Just purely by the RFI response, they chose to spend 1 month with us. A team of 15 people in 2 sprints of 2 weeks each. They spent 30 days with us, 15 people, only with us. And just by seeing the proof points of everything that we have done in automation, which is all around a dry ice framework, they shortlisted from 16. They said, we are going to negotiate with you. And if everything works well, we will award you the contract. Right? So our capability is, it's actually a best kept secret. Our marketing around automation has not been great, but wherever we've got the attention of the customer, wherever we had an opportunity to do a proof of concept, demonstrate the features, functionalities, and the real benefit, that's where we've really come out successful. So if there is one theme in the run the business opportunities, whether it is infrastructure and application, operations, and a little bit of business process, automation is the single biggest differentiator. So what does this mean? With every opportunity, our win rates increase because of our differentiated and very mature, impactful dry ice autonomics framework. So while it's obvious some of the revenues will decline because of automation, because the workloads are getting automated, I think it increases our addressable market, it increases our win ratios. The net impact of automation for HCL in terms of revenues and profitability is definitely a positive impact. Now, we should also look at how is automation playing out in the deal constructs and business models. All of you know there are 2 types of deal constructs. One is outcome-based, which is really managed services and fixed price kind of programs. The second one is input-based. It's number of people, you bill certain number of hours, or time and material kind of programs. As HCL, if you see our proportion of managed services or fixed price component is probably upwards of 60%, and it has been growing steadily. Our managed services fixed price component is the highest in the industry. Now, what happens when we do managed services? There is a lot of benefits of automation which HCL can leverage on. Sometimes we have to pass on some of the benefits to our clients. When we sign a 5-year or 4-year or 3-year deals, we bake in certain level of automation in those deals. And usually we have done much better than the productivity improvements that we baked in because of our maturity of automation solution. Now, what happens when those contracts come up for renewal? Right? Today, since there is so much of focus on automation, customers' expectations have gone higher. Traditionally, we used to provide 3 to 5% year-on-year improvement through automation, and we pretty much cover that in the first 3 years and then reach a stable state. Now, after 5 years, when they want to renew, they again want a significant discount. So with all the expectations, there is another 15 or 20% expectation of benefits that we would get due to automation, and customers want us to commit that upfront. And because our strength of strategy, because of the proof points, we are confidently able to make those commitments. So obviously there will be a decline in revenues, but because of our differentiated strategy, either the decline in revenue is either getting compensated by additional scope in terms of cross-sell, upsell. We have so much to offer to our clients. If you're doing operations, we get some more work on the change side. If you look at the customer spend, it is not going down. At best, it is flat or a little bit increasing. The run the business component could go down, but the change the business component increases. They try and save through automation and reinvest in maybe digital technologies or IoT or various other levers, which helps them to reimagine their business. So overall, automation increases our differentiation, our winnability. We may have some reduction in revenues when renewals come, but that gets more than offset because we've delivered significant benefits to our clients, either through upsell, cross-sell, and things like that. So we don't see any impact on our financial profile due to automation. However, there is a different challenge that we have to deal with. A lot of automation is focused on the entry-level jobs, the L1 and L2 layers, right? So there is a need to continuously retrain the entry-level talent that we have to be working on cloud migration, to be working on some digital technologies, to be working on some of the change components in our client environment. And fortunately, the entry-level talent, they're so open to learn new technologies. So we have a large program to continuously retrain our talent to make sure they're more relevant. The work that they do is moving away from some of the mundane tasks which have got automated to something more interesting, something which is on the newer areas. So if you see, our headcount would have only marginally increased in between FY15 and 16, while our revenues grew, whatever, 11% constant currency. So it's all a proof points of how we have been able to retrain and redeploy our workforce, how we have been able to ensure our revenues do not decline when we give the benefits of automation to our clients. It's very visible in our client profile. 98%. We used to have 90% of our business coming from existing customers. Over the years, it has increased to 97, 98%. If you see the growth in revenues in our top 5, top 10 categories, they're better than our average growth rates. So overall, automation is a great opportunity for us. It helps us to win more. It helps us to satisfy our customers' quality services. That's really the summation of automation. Now let's go to the next big elephant in the room, which I believe a lot of you have this question: how is public cloud impacting our business? Depending on who you ask, somebody would say, I'm going to move everything to public cloud. I won't have anything in my premise. It's called just what we call as journey to zero. There are others. Some of the larger enterprises are a little bit conservative. They believe they could move 10 to 30% of their workload to public cloud. In fact, there is a couple of CIOs whom I know, even in the Fortune 100, who are telling their teams, why can't you move everything to public cloud? So you have both ends of the spectrum from 0 to 100, and the reality is really somewhere in between. Now, public cloud, you need to look at it in 3 components, right? One is infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service. Now, you have to analyze this in the context of our business. We have infrastructure business, we have applications business, which are the 2 big components where some components could move to public cloud. Let's just focus for a minute on our infrastructure business. Infrastructure business has got 5 or 6 distinct service lines. You have data center, you have end user computing, you have network, security, our whole autonomics offering around cross-functional services are all part of our infrastructure services. Now, does all businesses have an impact due to public cloud? Answer is no. The core data center is where public cloud has a play. Data center business is about 40% of our infrastructure revenues. Now, if you look at the traditional data center revenue profile for traditional providers, it has 3 components. One is all the assets, then the second one is all the hosting and the associated services, and the third is the real operational services. Right? This is the traditional mix. But HCL traditionally we really disrupted the infrastructure business by pursuing what we call as an asset-light strategy. What is asset-light strategy? We told our customers, we'll be your trusted advisor to select the right choice of technology. You can go and buy the hardware, software from the sources that we recommend as a trusted advisor. We will help you to transform your landscape, provide the transformation services, and run your operations. So we are an asset-light. Largely, our business is asset-light. 70-80% of our customers, we've been very successful in driving an asset-light strategy. So that's one. Second is we are also very hosting light. Right? We don't own data centers unlike some of the traditional players. We always partner with providers, world-class, best-in-class providers for data centers. So we are not so much in the hosting space. A lot of infrastructure is in our client data center or our partner data center hosted in some of their partner data center facilities. The third component is operations. Our data center business is significantly an operations-led business. Now, how much of this could move to public cloud? It really depends on, it could vary from maybe on an average across all industries, all company sizes. There are many reports, but one could safely say potentially half the workloads could move to public cloud. Now, it is very high in some of the smaller industries. It's a little lower in large enterprises. It's very high in industries which have a very variable workload, in industries which have 24/7, which has fairly uniform global usage of their infrastructure. Maybe the adoption is lesser. So if you look at the market space where we operate, we are very focused on G2000 companies. In G2000, I believe public cloud adoption is going to be between 10 and 30%. A lot of infrastructure, digital platforms are going to be built on private cloud infrastructure, where software-defined infrastructure solutions are becoming the big theme, where you can really deliver public cloud-like functionalities within the enterprise. Right? You can build private cloud infrastructure and provide all functionalities of a public cloud in terms of variability, in terms of usage patterns, in terms of on-demand provisioning, in terms of billing, chargeback, auto-provisioning. All of that is possible if you build a software-defined infrastructure stack. Many of our customers have very vigorously embraced software-defined infrastructure. There are very large companies for whom we are building private cloud solutions using SDI, and we have a great lab infrastructure for our clients to test these functionalities. So the strategy is all going to be in the market segment that we are playing. It's all going to be hybrid cloud. Some components in public cloud, some components a part of private cloud. I would believe about 30% of infrastructure in the next 2 to 3 years or next 4 years in our focused client segment could move to public cloud. And when they move to public cloud, what happens? Right? They earlier used to buy assets from an OEM. Now, instead of buying an asset from an OEM, they're going to leverage it from a public cloud provider. It does not impact our revenues. Now, there is an operational component which we were running and managing for many years. So, running an infrastructure operations for a dedicated installation in a data center and running it on public cloud. I think if you're going to spend $10 on services in private cloud or dedicated data center, the operational component would come down to maybe $5. Right? So there is a reduction in revenue in the operational aspect of the 30% of workloads in 40% of our data center business, which could really go this way. So, which means it's obvious you will estimate that you will going to lose $5 of revenue. But there is a lot of additional services that come into play when you put some infrastructure in public cloud, something in private cloud. So just whole management of hybrid cloud, orchestration between public and private cloud, all of that offers opportunities for additional services. Security becomes a lot more intensive. A lot of investments goes into security and services around it. Service integration and management is an additional service which becomes more and more relevant if you're operating in a hybrid cloud environment. So instead of $5, it gets replaced with $3 or $4 of surround services. Now, the $5 was really a low-end operational service. It is getting replaced with $3 or $4 of higher-end, high-margin, potentially high-value services. So overall, I think it's really going to be in the market segment that we're playing in the business mix that we have in the infrastructure space. I think it's going to be positive because some low-value services are really getting replaced with a slightly smaller but high-value services. The net impact from a EBIT perspective, it's only going to be positive due to some migration to public cloud. What happens in our application business? A lot of ERP applications. Traditionally, customers were spending a lot in implementing large-scale ERP solutions. Today, they are not doing that. Where you see very few cases of large-scale, end-to-end, multi-$100 million, $200 million SAP implementation programs. Because SAP and Oracle themselves are reinventing themselves, or They've SaaSified all their offerings. They're moving a lot of applications to SAP Cloud or Oracle Cloud. So we do have a sizable ERP implementation business. It's probably about 20% of our application portfolio, about $2.5 billion of application portfolio, 20%, $500 million is really in enterprise ERP implementations and all the system integration projects. Definitely that is going to get impacted because there is no longer large-scale implementation. So if you really analyze our numbers, our application numbers, we would have probably a double-digit degrowth in our ERP implementation business. Right? So we are reinventing ourselves to really focus on ERP to cloud, and that's where our revenues will not get compensated, just like I explained it on the infrastructure side, but it is going to have some impact on our ERP, whatever 20% of our 40% of the application business, it definitely has an impact. Now, platform as a service, truly it offers us a great opportunity. It's really an underlying platform to build modern applications. Our digital strategy, a lot of modern application build is all happening around Bluemix or Azure or all the platform as a service as an underlying layer. Some of it happens in you do dedicated infrastructure to build modern applications. Some of it happens on PaaS. So overall, some businesses get impacted, but it's very defined. It has a different impact on different businesses. If you analyze it very granularly, I do believe cloud adoption continues to be a big opportunity for us. There is some decline in some areas, some increase in some areas, but overall I think you're really getting a higher value revenue, higher margin revenues, and you may lose a little larger share of revenue, but it's getting replaced by slightly lower revenue with higher margins. So that's the story about public cloud and its impact on our business. There is a separate session on our cloud strategy. You will hear more examples and proof points as to how we are pursuing this strategy. There is a session on application services where we are going to focus on ERP on the cloud and how we are pivoting our current ERP business to ERP on cloud business. That brings me to the next big elephant in the room. What is our digitalization strategy? Traditionally, the formative years, industry has defined digitalization or digital as really implementation of SMAC technologies, right? Using social, mobile, analytics technology, using them, having people deployed in their existing clients to do work around SMAC was defined as digital. A lot of people define migrating an application from on-premise to public cloud as digital. But truly, they're not digital, right? You're using digital technologies in some form and shape. Our approach to digital is not really just talking about how you can use these technologies, how can we have a set of people qualified, trained to work on these technologies. But our strategy is all about what I call as looking at a process end to end and digitizing the entire process to create a significant business impact. Our digitalization or our beyond digital service offering is all about reimagining businesses through design thinking and digital technologies. It's not point programs. It's really reimagining a business process. I'll give you a couple of examples in a few minutes. Reimagining an end-to-end process so that it creates a business impact in terms of user experience or better cycle times or increased profitability or increased opportunity for revenue. How can you reimagine any of your existing businesses to leverage these technologies end-to-end, create digital platforms with connected ecosystem to drive a differentiated outcome for you as a business or to your customers? A classic example would be, we are working with a very reputed, iconic American brand in the cosmetics business. So they have what is called as travel retail. In any of the airports, you will find their stores, which it's probably 1,000 square foot or 700 square foot store where they are retailing some of their products. It's really that business line, they call it as travel retail. So what we are doing there is, we found this was a big problem statement. They believe finding 700 square foot of space in the most expensive airports, where the space is most expensive, was really a deterrent for them to drive higher revenues and higher presence of such stores. So we used design thinking to really reimagine how travel retail would happen. We leveraged our industrial engineering capabilities. We leveraged our capability in 3D printing, design thinking, and leveraged digital technologies to bring down these travel retail space of 700 square foot to sub 400 square foot, which the business model will help them to increase the stores at least 3 times from what they currently have. Right? It was just about, it's not using SMAC technology. SMAC is just incidental. It is bringing all the capabilities that HCL has, be it our engineering heritage, be it our design thinking capabilities in our Beyond Digital practice, or bringing together our capabilities on infrastructure, optimization, and leveraging partners for 3D printing. So it's all about getting all the pieces which go into making a business impact, bringing them together is what we really define as our digitization strategy, and that's what our Beyond Digital team is exclusively focused on. Once again, it's all about reimagining businesses using design thinking and digital technologies and leveraging all the capabilities that we have. Over the day, you will see a lot of proof points. You will find some very good examples. You will see our customer testimonials of what we have been able to do in digital area. This is a serious business for us. We have never talked about the size and scale of our digital business, but if you look at our application business, greater than 25% of our application business is all around digitization programs. It starts with design thinking. It has user experience-centric, persona-centric solutions. We have some of implementation of some of these solutions through technologies are a part of this. Analytics is a part of this. So it's a fairly significant revenue on our application services, and a part of our engineering services has got a platform re-engineering component, which is also part of our digital strategy. However, just moving to public cloud is not really considered as our digitalization revenues, because cloud is just incidental. It's just one vehicle. You could do it on dedicated platforms on-premise, or you could do it on public cloud. You could leverage PaaS. It's just the underlying infrastructure. We treat them as just infrastructure business, but all other things what I talked about contributes to the 25% of revenues. It's over $600 million is our digital revenues, and it's growing at upwards of 18 to 20%. So while some businesses in our application portfolio are facing headwinds, like maybe ERP, where I said we are seeing a double-digit decline, there is an ASM business which is ripe for disruption due to automation and things like that. I'll talk about that. But our digital business continues to grow at a very, very good growth rate. Now, given all this, I'll spend a few minutes talking about mode 1, 2, 3 strategy, starting with mode 1. Mode 1 is all about agile and lean and service-oriented businesses. We have 4 existing revenue streams, which is our application services, infrastructure, engineering and R&D services, and business process services. We have strong momentum in these core businesses. There are a lot of underserved markets in these core businesses. For example, in our engineering services, it's a $350 billion market opportunity. Just the addressable market space for us is $350 billion. And we have a leadership position. We have more than $1 billion revenue in engineering services, but the scope, the scale of what we can address is humongous. Today, it's an underserved market, and I think it's a great growth opportunity. The ITO business, which is a combination of an infrastructure and application business, it's again, the penetration levels of outsourcing is less than 50% in Global 2000. So I strongly believe ITO business is also an underserved business. There is enough opportunities for growth. There is $150 billion of rebate market, One of my colleagues will talk about it during the infrastructure session. And due to our capabilities in automation, autonomics, our flexible operating model, our relationship beyond the contract, trust and transparency, a culture-driven organizational approach is really differentiating us. And I do believe there is huge momentum in our core business to continue to grow at current growth rates or even higher for the next few years. So this is what I would call as the Mode 1 business, where agile and lean are the biggest themes. It has to have a lean operating model, high level of autonomics, which is driven by dry ice autonomics, and a very service-oriented approach in our core business will help us drive the current growth rates or even higher for the next few years. So now the Mode 2 is all about what is called as experience-centric and outcome-oriented businesses. Outcome-oriented could be digital. It could be as a service, which could be PaaS or software as a service or business process as a service. These are outcome-oriented, experience-centric businesses. These four businesses, cloud, security, beyond digital, and IoT works, are the four key themes which we are calling out as strategic imperatives where we want to invest in building organic and inorganic capabilities. These are high acceleration and high growth businesses. They have the potential, they offer a potential to grow 20 to 30% year on year for a very long time. And building differentiated capabilities, we've been investing in these businesses in the last few years. We have extremely good client testimonials, good IPs, good proof points, which are really the foundation for us to scale the Mode 2 businesses. Another very important theme is in Mode 2, there is no clear leader. It's a highly fragmented market. If you talk about cloud services, you will have 300, 400 niche providers who promise to migrate a customer to cloud. Same is true with digital. There are some large players, but there are numerous niche players. It's really an opportunity for someone like us who have capabilities in platform engineering, digital design thinking, a lot of digital transformation, capability to build new-gen infrastructure, run operations. It's a great opportunity for a player like us to take a leadership position in some of these Mode 2 businesses. And we very strongly believe in it. Some of the inorganic investments in the last couple of years have been geared around building more capabilities around Mode 2. We will continue to invest both organically and inorganically to drive this. And as I said, this offers a 20 to 30% year-on-year growth opportunity. And some of the businesses are already growing with that kind of momentum. Now coming to what I call as Mode 3. Mode 3 is all around ecosystem driven, and it's really our products and platform business. This is all about creating innovative IP partnerships to really drive product revenues or platform revenues. We recently announced a strategic partnership with a global player. It could potentially give us greater than $100 million revenues in the first year of operations. Right? So what are we trying to do here? As all of you know, we are not a classical only IT services company. We have our legacy is product. We started with product engineering services is one of our long-standing successful service lines, which is finally emerged as an engineering and R&D services. So we want to use our capabilities and leadership in product engineering services to see how we can create these IP partnerships to really modernize some of the products which are there in the industry and make them really relevant to the new world. Like one of our investments is on workload automation, and how can you convert this workload automation to be relevant in the modern hybrid cloud environment? We see a huge opportunity because some of these products were traditionally used in on-premise data centers, doing workload automation and orchestration across heterogeneous infrastructure. Now, some of the infrastructure is moving to public cloud. Some of it is in private cloud. Some of it is in partner ecosystems. How do you really orchestrate workload? How do you create a hybrid workload automation platform? There is a huge opportunity, and one of our investments is around that. The second is around Agile and DevOps. How can you build DevOps solutions? How can you offer testing as a service? All of this is a part of some of the product opportunities that we are pursuing. So while we focus on creating these strategic partnerships, We believe in the long run it provides us market permissions in the product and platform space. There are some other strategic partnerships around platforms. I mean, some time back we announced a joint venture with CSE to drive a very niche platform strategy in a specific vertical. So here our growth ambitions are modest. Our real long-term strategy is to use these strategic opportunities to create market permissions in the products and platform space. We are going to be very selective. We are going to look at opportunities, whatever we believe are strategic, which will give us healthy revenue streams. It will make a lot of financial sense, but it will also add into what we believe will be our long-term product and platform business. So to summarize, mode 1, 2, 3, mode 1 is our core businesses, significant momentum, unserved markets, huge differentiation is driven by our autonomics platform. That's our mode 1. Mode 2 is all our high growth, high acceleration businesses like cloud, security, beyond digital and IoT works. Beyond digital also includes our analytics solutions. We will grow very well. 20 to 30% is what we believe is the opportunity, and we are really going after that. And mode 3 is really, we're going to be selective play. It's all around products and platform. I do believe this mode 1, 2, 3, differentiated focus, differentiated approach to these services is going to help us grow at industry leading rates in the years to come.